Yo, 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 yo.
Which is probably one of us. So we're rolling. We're rolling. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. You already know this is the Connect 360, and I am D Jackson, all about making things happen. We got a great, awesome show we're going to get in today. Justice, what's some of the stuff you were just talking about? You said we're about to cover.
We're going to cover the whole shebang. Trump to Kanye to what's going on. A lot of hot topics. Hustling, everything. Where you all checking this video out from? Can you all see us? How can you hear us? Tune in, say something.
Yeah, definitely. So we want to make sure everybody is if you're looking at us on our pages, you want to send people over, make sure y'all go to the Fresh Air Network. That's Fresh Air, AIRE. You should actually you should see it actually on my page. But go to the Fresh Air Network. That's where we shoot every single Wednesday, 6 to 7 o'clock is where we shoot. So the Fresh Air Network, make sure y'all tuning in there, send everybody over there today. And we're about to get directly into the show and get things rolling. If y'all have any questions, also if y'all want to call in, y'all can call in at 773-263-2584. 773-263-2584 is where you can call in at.
So what are we talking about today, Action Jackson? What's going on?
So first we're going to get directly into some of these trending topics with the news. Well, before I even do that, I just want y'all to make sure y'all know what the show is about. The theme of the show today is we're talking about the power of hustling and the effects on it and on how hustlers can build nations. And we're going to really go deep into that, and we're going to give y'all some hustle rules for 2017. So if you're a person that wants to develop more, earn more, get more, do more, you'll consider yourself a hustler. We're going to show you how to be able to step your hustle up for 2017 because there's some stuff that needs to stop.
A lot of things need to stop. A lot of things. So we got some good tips for you.
All right, and so with that, first, let's get into the trending news. Let's get into those topics. So first, in terms of the news, one big thing that's happening right now that we want to get into is the new president-elect, Donald Trump. Right now, there was a video that TMZ just reported with him and Kanye West.
Him, Kanye, also Jim Brown, and a couple other legendary. Who else?
Jim Brown.
Ray Lewis. Yeah. You didn't see that?
I didn't see Jim Brown and
Jim
Ray
Brown
Lewis.
Was with Trump. Yeah, you got to check that out. What's going on? What happened with Kanye?
Well, you know what? From what
I know, he dyed his hair.
Yeah, he was standing there with the blonde hair, and there's a couple different reports from sources saying that what they were meeting about. No, we don't really know, but I saw one source was saying that they were talking about Chicago violence, and they were talking about police brutality. It's supposed to be in the meeting. The purpose of that meeting. Who knows exactly what they were talking about.
Where'd you hear that from?
This was a source. Actually, I don't even know if the source is credible, really. I think this was TMZ that mentioned that, okay. I believe. Okay. So, again, even with TMZ, we don't know the credibility of that. I mean, how do we know officially what they were talking about, if it's not documented? So, but I do know, I did see the video that showed the pictures, and it was kind of weird, in my opinion, looking at Kanye standing there with the blonde hair. And in my opinion, the first thing I thought was, all right, is Trump using this as an opportunity, like a propaganda tool, just to say, hey, I'm not necessarily, I'm not that bad, I'm not racist. Hey, look, I'm with Kanye. Because why is it he with Kanye versus with some other black business leaders or other political black figures? Why is he with a rapper? You know what I mean?
Do you think he reached out to Kanye or Kanye reached out to him?
You know what?
Because Kanye at the concert, when he spazzed out, did say, hey, I would have voted for Trump, or I voted for Trump. I would have voted for Trump. the concert, one of the concerts right before he got admitted.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. Right. Yeah, he did say. I saw that too. That's an interesting perspective too, because it does seem like Kanye is trying to make some strategic moves to be able to, for his brand, with everything he got going on. It is kind of interesting that he goes in the hospital, colors his hair, come out, and now he's with Trump after he just said it. So it's interesting, man. So I of course, all we can do is speculate and see what happens. But personally, man, it all looks just like some propaganda, in my opinion. It's all about,
from whose side? From Trump's side or from Kanye's side?
From both sides.
So
man. From both sides, it just looks like a big spectacle to me. At the end of the day, all we can do is we just have to continue to, prepare ourselves in terms of our own business and practice some of these hustler strategies.
Kanye took a lot of heat for that, though. He said, "Why is he meeting with Trump?" I guess Trump is supposed to be the enemy now. So a lot of people say, "Well, why?" I guess Boss called Kanye in and using Kanye and all these black celebrities as to kind of take some of the heat off him, talking about the president-elect.
Well, what?
President-select Trump.
But with artists these days, especially the Kardashians.
Are they artists?
It's entertainers, right?
Okay.
Celebrities. It's really almost, even negative news is still good. It keeps them relevant.
Why do they even trend? I'm just curious. The Kardashians.
The Kardashians trending?
You got this Kardashian, that Kardashian. What talents do they have?
Well, a talent I see they have. I think they're very smart about just getting attention for just lifestyle, so just random, just like promotion, like marketing promotion for nothing. I think they're smart enough to recognize the era that we live in is a era where people they like reality TV. They want to be able to see some vein. You know what I mean? I really think, for one, people like seeing a train wreck, and to a certain extent, the Kardashians is a train wreck when you really look at it. When you look at what's going on with Bruce Jenner, you got him running around.
Are they a train wreck, or the men that marry into the family become train wrecks?
It's all connected. It's all connected. If all the men is coming into the family having this drama, hey, it's got to be it's a pattern there. That's a pattern there. But I will say, I think they're very smart about marketing, because people keep watching, people keep getting attention. And when even Kim, she released her app, I think she did like $80-90 million in sales on that app she released.
Okay.
Then the app was just like,
what is the app about? I mean, what happens with that app?
It was like some type of video game type of app sort of thing, where you're like The Sims, where you're like a girl, like you are Kanye, and it's like you're trying to accomplish these things. You're putting on makeup and getting hair and stuff like that. So it had like these little, like a video game type of thing, but like the lifestyle of the Kardashians.
Okay.
So I do think that's a great skill, because you have a lot of people that's trying to duplicate that. That's the new hustle for a lot of social media models, is let me get attention for looking good, causing controversy. And then the thing is, though, you got to have something to sell, And the last thing I'll say about that, is sad that if Kim could make $3-4 million for just showing up at a location, and Kanye, he got to work 2-3. You got to keep producing hits. What does that do to your ego as a man when you got to work so hard to make your money, but then your wife could just show up somewhere? And she getting a big bag and walking away, and she don't have no talent.
If he got his paperwork right, I mean, he should have publishing and residual income by now, right? You had hit albums, songwriting credits, a couple of Grammys under his belt.
But with a guy like Kanye, though, it ain't about the paper, though. It's to me, it seems like it's more about the ego than anything. When you look at how he, if you look at how he goes out, how he talk, how he has the rants. It seems like he really is very important for him to get recognized and get certain attention. And if he's not getting that, I can see that causing somebody like that to break down. Especially if you haven't had any therapy, and you're dealing with other issues and you ain't got no real people around you, that's really keeping you grounded.
So we talking about hustling today.
Today we talking about hustling.
So talked about the Kardashians hustling. You know, Trump hustled his way into the White House. You know, are we being hustled? So I guess that's a good topic one day. And what else you got on? Are we being hustled?
Hey, there's always a hustle going on somewhere. You know, it's all sales. Either you're selling something or
you being sold.
Or you
something.
being sold something all the time. So other in the news, really quick, is the You Name It challenge. This is a big thing, right? Musicians are making songs and a lot of stuff is going viral. The You Name It challenge was the thing where you got the pastor Shirley Caesar. She did the sermon about it. I got greens, eggs, tomatoes, peas, ham, and all that. And so a DJ remixed the song. He took her soundbite and made it into a song.
Right. So what's going on with that?
So what's going on with that is right now Shirley Caesar's team is taking legal action. They have made the DJ take all of the his stuff down. He made a song, put it on iTunes. They made him take that down so he can no longer make money on that. And also she's saying that she's not trying to sue him because that's what the allegation is. People are kind of coming at her trying to say, why are you trying to sue the brother?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have anything to say about that one. You know.
Only thing I want to say about that, since we're talking about hustling, is to me, the DJ is showing a perfect sample of short-term hustling because the fact that he had to take that down means that he did not, if he took her intellectual property and he did not contact her first saying, hey, how about we work together on this and with your permission, let me put out this song and you can maybe get a percentage off of it. And then from there, if he would have approached it like that, maybe he wouldn't have had to never take it down in the first place. And maybe it could even lead to them doing another song or another challenge. Mm-hmm. So all I'm saying is, as a hustler, you know, sometimes we got to really evaluate with the moves we make. Are we doing it for short-term moves or are we doing it for long-term moves? But next in news, we also have, speaking of Trump, he just signed up a lot of his new business council meeting members. His business council members have just been announced. Some of them include the CEOs of Uber, Walmart, Tesla, SpaceX, PepsiCo, Walt Disney. You know, some of the, you know, and these are some huge companies right here. And so I just thought it was interesting just to see that, you know, we got a businessman in the White House and seeing how will this affect us when we're seeing, you know, having these type of people, these type of CEOs in office. What you think about that?
He's making power moves, you know. So he's pulling, as they say, you know, you don't want to be the smartest one in the room all the time. So he's pulling people that, you know, that's at his level or above, and according to him, you know, he's checking some of the Republicans that didn't want him in office. You know, he's pulling some of the black elite, or, you know, in regards to the entertainment and political fields, you know, closer to him. So, you know, he's making power moves. He's hustling his way, you know, through I guess through the next 4 years. Got one of the top big wigs with Exxon, you know, on his team. So, you know, that's oil right there. And, you know, they say when you know, it takes a lot of oil to go to war. So I think we better brace ourselves for the next few years, you know.
I think what's also interesting about it is many of these people, like Elon Musk, for example, who's a CEO of Tesla, also founded the company PayPal, right?
Right, okay.
These people vocally spoke out against Trump before he was running. They said he should not be the guy here. He supported Hillary, but now he's sitting on the board. So for me, it's interesting to see how, even if you might disagree with people, sometimes politically you have to still figure out how to work with them, you know, for power moves. Even if you, and I think even in the black community, that's something that we don't do enough of. Like, we got people that you don't like.
Right.
We don't like people, then don't work with them. Like, for example, people saying Kanye shouldn't even spoke to Trump. Like, why are you even next to him when really, you know, it's the mindset maybe should be, maybe you should be the person that's talking to him so we get some sort of line of communication with the White House.
Right. Well, you know,
but we don't know what I don't think
Kanye spoke to him to have a line of communication to the White House for the community, you know, is to build his brand up, you know. So for a business move, I can see why Kanye did it, you know.
Yeah.
From a business perspective, you know, more albums sold, more people exposed to his brand in middle America, you know, from them states that Trump probably got all those votes from. So from that angle, you know, I can see.
Well, right. Also speaking of news is this is the last news piece, and then we'll go directly into the topic. Is the V2V technology, which is basically vehicle-to-vehicle technology, it's just been passed by the federal government, United States Department of Treasury. They're making it mandatory that all new vehicles will have communication with each other. They're going to have the technology where they can communicate with each other. So, you know, like if a car is speeding or to prevent an accident, they're making it mandatory where all new cars will have that. So
the cars will be able to talk to each other.
Basically, they talking to each other, relaying, I guess, this vital information.
Cussing each other out and, you know, tight traffic situations, you know, vehicle road rage. Is that high tech yet, or what's going on with that?
You know what? It's gonna be interesting to see how deep it gets, because in some cases, some of these cars, they will stop themselves right before a collision. So it'll be interesting to see how does, you know, because I was watching a video the other day where it was these two sisters on World Star Hip Hop, and one girl, they were arguing with each other. And what the girl did, she hopped in her car and she started ramming the other girl's car.
Oh, wow.
She hit the girl like 3 times.
On video. Right.
On video. Yeah, she hit the girl like 3 times, and then they drove away and they chased each other, and they probably did some more ramming with their cars. But it's just interesting to see how technology is moving so quickly, and seeing it, you know, how is it going to impact the way we behave, you know. It's going to be interesting.
I wonder if it's a brother behind this type of technology, you know, because usually when it comes to, you know, technology, it's usually one of us in the background, you know, especially when it comes to traffic. But traffic light, we did it. Tail light, you know, we did it. Even the locomotive or the trains communicating with each other so they wouldn't crash into each other on the tracks. I think brother, Granville T. Woods, look him up. You know, I think Edison had him in court. Him and Edison was going back and forth. You know, he sued Edison, I believe, and won. Granville T. Woods. So I'm sure it's probably a brother that's somewhere in the background, you know, lurking with this vehicle-to-vehicle technology.
Yep, V2V technology.
To check that out.
Yeah, so let's get directly into it. Speaking of, we're talking about maybe it's a brother behind it. So I think that goes directly into the power of hustling, right? Because a lot of times if you got a powerful, let's say a smart black person, a George Washington Carver, or an innovative person that's just exceptional, when they go and they start working with the government, to a certain extent, it's a sacrifice to the community. But what I've learned, and I've just personally experiencing this, is when you're hustling in life and when you want a blessing to go to the next level, sometimes you have to make a huge sacrifice that you may not be willing to do. And when you're faced in that situation, what do you do?
Are you hustling for yourself, or are you hustling for your family, or are you hustling for your community, or, you know, different people hustle for different things.
This is very true, and that's actually that's a good question. So, because most people in America, I mean, this is a society where when we hustle, we're hustling for the individual. Everybody hustling for their first name, like Dame Dash like to say. And so it's like dog eat dog. You know what I mean? It's like I'm gonna do whatever I gotta do. I'm gonna get rich or die trying, regardless of who I hurt in the pathway, long as I get mine. Is that a good thing though? I mean, for the community, is it a good thing?
Not if everyone's out for themselves. You know, sometimes you have to form certain alliances and move as a team. You know, because if you're hustling for a team, or, you know, for a group, and you're dealing with people that's only hustling for themselves, you're going to be the only one out there left holding the bag in the end. So you know, you got to make sure you hustle with people who have the same mind state. You know, so if we all hustling together, you know, we all have to have a team mind state.
So what would be a good example of a team, same team mind state of entrepreneurs, freedom fighters, some hustlers that work together, you would say?
I mean, in sports, I mean, you go to the 90s Bulls. They worked as a team. That's why they won all those championships, But prior to that, you had Jordan scoring 50 points, 60 points, 40 points a game, But prior to that, he wasn't winning any championships. It wasn't until, the coach put that team together and they all got on that same, wavelength and said that, the goal is not for him to win a scoring championship or for him to win a rebound, the rebound award or whatever. It was, we want to win the big championship. So, what's the bigger goal? What's the big picture? So I guess first you got to have a central goal in mind, that the team can rally around, and we focusing on that.
Okay, so let's use that example. So just as you're talking about the power of the Bulls when they work together,
it can be the Bulls, it can be Trump and his team.
Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about that specific example, though, because right now Phil Jackson is in the news, right? They come Phil and his comments about LeBron James.
What did you say about LeBron?
He just mentioned something about his posse. He says, I forget the exact words, but something about LeBron James doing things with all his people. Kavan, do you know what I'm talking about? Do you know what he said exactly?
It was basically saying he was talking about how LeBron has done necessarily well with his business and brand, but then he turned around and said that his group of managers and agents and things of that nature, which are some of his friends from his hometown,
right,
he said they're posses. And the term posse is basically a negative connotation when you talk about them, as opposed to just saying, his group or whoever. He was saying it in a negative.
He said it in a negative way.
Was he saying like posse, like yes men, or what?
Well, I actually heard what the definition of posse is, because somebody was making that reference point on why was the word that he said posse so bad. And it was some words before that too. So I'm not going to actually claim that I know exactly verbatim what he said, but the challenge that they had with what he was talking about was the word posse and what the connotation.
So what's the definition of posse?
I know the first time I heard it. You got Sir Mix-a-Lot up there. My posse's on Broadway. That's what you got. Did that come up?
It's just interesting though to see how sensitive of the climate that we're
posse,
in.
That's like cowboy.
Because posse, really, the original word,
the body of force.
Even a negative. It's not even really a negative word in definition. But of course, people are mad because
a group of friends.
Because of the climate that we're in, and then some people mad because they feel like he said it in a negative way. Which is important too. That's why I tell people all the time, communication is more than just the words you say. You know what I mean? You got that nonverbal, you got the tone you say it in, and your nonverbal language.
First of all, people don't use that word.
They don't use the word posse.
No, they don't. They don't.
So for him to seek out that word as the word that he used to speak about somebody's business and business practice, or example what the business looks like to him, we generally don't use that word posse. And whether he know the definition or not, it is. I mean, we connotate it as something like in the past, in the Western days.
Right.
It's along those lines. It's a group of people, and then it's not necessarily. So what he could have came out as far as sharing with them, with the market, with the media, is he wasn't trying to give them their just due as far as how LeBron has actually navigated his brand and did it in a non-traditional meaning having those same agents and or people who run damn near the NBA period. It's like 7 or 8 agents that basically control 80.
Has a monopoly
on the agencies for the players. So instead of just saying that he's done a good job, he used flavorful words.
Right.
That kind of dumbed down his authenticity.
Well, and here's why I bring it up in the first place is that Phil Jackson, he won all of these championships. In fact, he's won probably more than just about any other coach in history. But when he's with this new organization, well, he's with what, the New York Knicks now? Is the culture, what role does culture play when it comes to developing hustlers? Does that have any development? Because you got one of the same guys, but it's a different culture with where Phil is at now. Of course, the players not on the same level, but these guys are playing horrible, even with people like Derrick Rose on the team. So how important is culture when it comes to getting a team to work together, in your opinion?
That's for me or Kavon?
For any one of y'all that want to, both of y'all.
How important is culture?
Mm-hmm.
It depends on that culture's, traditions. So if you talking about, in our community, we way behind. I'll just put it like that. So, I'm saying the African Americans is in America. I'm not talking about on a global level.
Mm-hmm.
But because I've lived in America primarily most of my life or all of my life. So
you're saying that blacks are the culture when it comes to hustle, we're a little bit behind. So
yes.
So that basically you are saying that culture does have an impact on the mindset of hustling, teamwork, hard work. So are there some cultures that are just better than others in terms of with the hustler culture and teamwork culture, working together culture?
Walk outside your door, go to the corner store, and you will see what I'm talking about.
Well, the definition of culture is
or the gas station.
The definition of culture says it's actually 6 of them, but the behavior
culture, right?
Yes.
Okay.
The behaviors and beliefs, characteristics of a particular social, ethnic, or age group. So when I looked at that and I seen it, behavior and beliefs, which are how people interact, what's the common denominator on what they believe in, meaning if I say Wild Hundreds, people in Chicago is going to know the culture of what Wild Hundreds is, but if I say that in some other city, they won't understand it. So if I'm saying a bunch of words that's in my culture, in my city, and another person that's not in that city can never ever understand the complexity or the simplicity of whatever is going on, which means that people like to be in groups. And if you in a group means that you have common interests, you have common beliefs, you have common behaviors. So if you don't have those common beliefs and or behaviors, then how are you guys going to move synergistically in one direction or another direction? And did you take everybody's thoughts into consideration when you build in this culture?
What's your take on the African American community? Do we have synergy, common interests? Are we moving in the same direction overall in general?
Well, I say yes, in some facets we are, and no in some others. Yes, when it comes to the music side, meaning the fact that we know that we love music. So that's our culture. We love to dance. That's our culture. We love to put spin on things that's original. That's our culture. Now, does other cultures do it? Yes. Do they do it like us? Some may. That's relative to who you're talking to. Now, are we good at some things? Yes. Do we know the philosophy behind how things are culturally created? No. If we don't know how those things are, then it's hard to have some kind of philosophy on a culture as a whole, not a culture in a specific way. Like the culture of basketball can be one thing, but the culture of people with melanin can be a whole different dichotomy. It's more intensive and more inclusive, and as far as the people, as opposed to just a group of people that know how to play basketball, if that makes sense. So we have it, we understand it, we just not putting those things in a direction that we are moving things forward collectively for our benefit.
So that, to me, when I hear you say that, it makes me think about the value system then, in terms of what we value. So like, for example, you talked about how you could get on the music scene, you can get a lot of black folks that could agree, like they love hip hop as a culture, right? Even, you know, they can respect musicians, but like, for example, KRS-One was just saying in his interview I was watching, he was talking about the power of, if artists and entertainers were to create their own currency and they would be able to spend that currency with each other and gave each other points, then the power that the power that community would get just by adding more value on their own currency versus valuing other things, valuing another currency, valuing the rims, or valuing other tangible things that may not, you know, because for example, that's why they got called culture vultures, right? You'll have.
What's a culture vulture?
And shout out to Drink Champs too.
Oh, definitely. A culture vulture. I'll say what I've seen people say that culture vulture's definition, because I don't know the official definition, but what I've seen people say is that culture vulture is any person that comes from outside of that community and their whole intent is to exploit that community and not share anything
You're doing
with
too
that
much
community.
with that mic, man. It's going in and out.
Okay. Yeah, so it's a person that's exploiting a community who's an outsider who comes to a community just to exploit it, and they have no intention to be able to truly help that community.
Okay, check this out. So we know what culture is. He just gave a definition. So culture vulture. What's a vulture?
Vulture.
Scavenger.
Yeah.
Scavenger. So if you're a culture vulture, that means you're exploiting a community that's dying.
Or is already dead.
Or is already dead.
Mm-hmm.
So is it the culture vulture the problem, or is it the community needs to circle their wagons? You know, so the community can get better. So we won't have culture vultures feeding off of us. You know, so should we point at the culture vulture or figure out what we're doing wrong and what we need to do right?
I think we have to define to our people what culture is. What's the primary tools that we need to understand culture, continue to understand it, and to continue to add on value to it, to make it what we feel it is. I think our culture has been damaged by other people's influence and thought process and meanings, and we just accept them because we are acceptable people, and we accept their understanding for something as the truth, and then we implement that quote-unquote truth into our thought process. And since we haven't done any research, we don't know what the origin is, we don't know where it came from, it's easier to get indifferent results of what it is that your culture is. We drink milk. Remember?
That's not our culture.
Okay.
Right.
We eat anything. I mean, even the USD came up with the food triangle. Who did they consider when they created that?
Not you. Not him.
Well, and this is why I think it's so important. This is why I want to talk about the power of hustling and hustlers. Typically, an entrepreneur and the hustlers in the community are the ones that are like rebellious against. They want independence more than anything. They want to be able to create their own code and live by their own rules. You know, you just can't. Certain hustlers, you cannot get them to work a job, or you cannot. Is my mic okay?
Yeah, it's going in and out. I don't know if because you turned it. You see the light is.
Okay, all right, am I good now?
Back on.
Perfect. Yeah, it went off. So yeah, okay, but yeah, with the hustling community though, with hustlers, period, they want to be independent. It's all about calling their own shots, making their own rules. They don't want to be compliant. It's that rebellious spirit, and that's one thing why I love about the young people too, especially our younger hustlers that's coming up.
Right. Some young people,
some of them, but really. All of them, or most of them, have the spirit where they want to naturally.
I know rebel. A lot of lazy ass young people. I'm telling you.
Like I'm not saying
we got some lazy old folks, lazy middle-aged people.
But do we blame the young people for being lazy, or do you blame the elders who haven't laid out for them the example of this is what you can get if you out here working hard.
When you say young people, what age group, first of all? What age group you talking about?
I'm talking mainly teenagers.
Okay. Because once you start getting past a certain age, you can't blame the elders anymore.
Yeah,
I know 35-year-olds blaming 55-year-olds for all their problems. Now, or 29-year-olds blaming someone who's 60 for all their problems. No, once you get past a certain age, you have to take responsibility. Well, teenagers. Let's go with teenagers.
Well, as a hustler, though, one thing that business owners know is that if you're a leader, you cannot blame other people for your problems because you're the one in charge. Even if it's someone else's fault, you just have to eat it. You just got to take that loss and say, you know what, I'm responsible because I hired you. I'm responsible because, I'm the leader of the organization. So that accountability it has to be there if you're going to be successful.
So accountability, if you're going to be the type of person, like you say, a hustler that's really successful, accountability is one of the main keys right there, and taking responsibility. So,
definitely. And
so what coaches have the best hustlers are probably the coaches that have the most accountability, and take the most responsibility. So does the African American take responsibility, for some of the things that we're doing wrong? And I know that 90% of our issues are probably external, but we need to recognize that, and internal. So when I say external, I know we have forces working against us. I got that, but are we, if I'm going out of my way to get a discount from you or cheat you, but then I'm running to the gas station, or the corner store that a foreigner owns and willing to pay them, then that makes me part of the problem too. So we have to pay ourselves first.
Definitely.
So
yeah, I mean that makes me even think about some of the Asian community on how. And shout out too. I just want to really quick just shout out to our sponsors too. I want to shout out to Fresh Air Network. Shout out to International Power Brokers. Shout out to CC360, Culture Connection. I want to shout them out. And what made me even think about it is like I get my car fixed at a foreign car shop downtown, and the owner is a younger guy, Asian cat, named Benny. But it's funny, I was talking to Benny, because he gets all these celebrities and stuff that come in and get their cars fixed on and all this good stuff. And I was asking him, like, did he vote? And he was just telling me about how so many people in his family and community, they didn't even look at the president as a factor when it came to their business.
Because he's not. Because
they knew they were going to take, I guess there's accountability, like, hey, we're the ones that's going to control what we, our destiny.
Well, I'm not gonna say he's not, but we talked about the local versus federal or universal way of doing things. We put so much energy in somebody else doing for us, as opposed to us creating an understanding on what's going on, and then having some demands based off that understanding, and then that only is the chance to where you can make other people accountable when you know what is going on. If you don't know, then 9 times out of 10 you don't know the right questions to ask. You definitely don't know what the right results are, and it's been like that for so long because we haven't taken on the task of understanding that numbers, beliefs, behavior does make differences. It's the same thing with the pipeline and how things have changed on that front. The fact that those people stayed, they came out, they had some synergistic, they had belief systems, and they voiced them. Lucky enough that we have technology that can actually capture some of these cultures and beliefs that now they can't be misunderstood. They can't be screwed. They can't be twisted by the media.
Because you're seeing it live and direct.
So I think one of the things that we can do as a people is to, of course, embrace technology. That's one thing. Second thing is to understand that we do have a say-so. We do matter. I think most of our culture think that I'm not going to vote because I don't matter. That's what they hang their hat on. Now, I'm not saying that voting is the end all or be all. I'm saying that that philosophy of thinking, that behavior, is what most people are actually living off of because they feel like they don't matter, which means that their culture is a behavior of I don't matter. I'm done.
No, that's really interesting. That's really interesting. You know, it just make me think back about why it's important. Right now, we're working on this documentary, right? We got the trailer out, and the documentary is basically really going deep into the same topic we're talking about today, which is we're going into hustling, with hard work. We're going specifically into how the culture of hustling. And one thing I see is that in the black community especially, we have a real negative. For one, there's a lack of examples of good hustlers. And then the ones that we do see, it's almost negative. Like if you hustling and good grades in school, people look at you like you a lame or something. Like it's something wrong with you. Why are you working so hard? You know, like it's cooler to not work. You know, it's the cool thing is to not work so hard and kind of not, you know, but have something for nothing. You know, get over. It's like a culture of getting over on people and being happy because you finesse somebody, you know.
Or it's a culture of somebody owes me.
That too. That's the big part. And a lot of that comes from, in my opinion, not having a father in the household growing up, because many women that are single have sometimes an attitude that someone owes them, whether it be and not all of them, but I'm talking about like people that depend on the government. I'm talking about them people specifically. If they're used to getting a lot of food stamps and stuff for free, it's that culture of, what can you do for me? You know, what can you do for me? I'm owed this, owed that. And if you grow up in that culture, what are you gonna, if as a boy you're trying to be a man, you're gonna duplicate that, which is why my grandfather he never even allowed us to get free food at school. Like they were trying to offer me free food at school. I told my granddad, he was like, nah, you can't get free food. And I thought he had too much pride, but I later realized it's because he knew that would create a level of dependency.
So y'all pay for y'all lunchroom pizza.
And the tripped out part, we didn't make a lot of money. We weren't like a really, you know, but we were a family that, even though we didn't make a lot of money, it was a lot of us, but we were just, we were blessed to, you know, we had some organization and some respect in the household, where it's just certain things he just wasn't going to allow.
That makes sense. That makes sense. And I'm looking at it says, what cultures have the best hustlers?
Yeah.
Are immigrants better at business than Americans? Who are some great examples of hustlers across the globe, and great examples of hustlers across the globe, and how to teach the children? You know, maybe we could have used entrepreneurs or hard workers. Why did you choose the word hustlers?
Because I think hustler is a great example so entrepreneurs are the foundation for almost any nation, right? These are the people that they innovate, they solve problems, right? But the reason why I didn't want to say entrepreneurs is because many times the entrepreneur's goal is money. At least what we think of in America, we think you're going into business because you just want to make money.
Or freedom, financial freedom, or, you know, independence from punching the clock, you know.
But to me, the difference is with hustlers is bigger than just
being an entrepreneur. Okay.
It's about a lifestyle. It's a code of, I'm going to call, like you said, I'm going to have freedom. And I'm also going to be disciplined enough to live my life with certain rituals and certain habits. You know, and you may not want to be an entrepreneur, but you can still possess these hustle habits even if you don't own your own business. You know what I mean? You might be a pastor at a church, you know, for example, or, you know, and still have a level of hustle. Or you might be a musician or artist and you still have a level of hustle about yourself.
I was looking at the NBA, and this has happened a couple of times, and they were speaking on that word, hustler. And then, you know, of course, in basketball, if you're a hustler, that's considered endearment. I mean, you like, man, you want that. And what that meant to me is it aligns a mental capacity with a physical capacity that sometimes on the outside looking in, it doesn't seem like that person should be that driven. Okay, so also we have to think about the word hustle and where the negative connotation came from, which was a word that we used when it came to the 60s and 70s, which in that case came out to be a negative connotation. Now, hustler is a mindset to me. It is a lifestyle. It is something that no matter what goes on, you're going to get things done. That is a culture. That is a belief. That is something. So the NBA announcers was telling me, I think it was Doug Collins. He was saying that hustling is a skill. It is actually a skill. And what that means for individuals, just like shooting a basketball, just like spreading your fingers, footwork, all that good stuff, it takes a certain amount of mental and physical capacity. Practice make perfect. Repetition is the best teacher. To actually, and then itself has a lot to do with it. Somebody can tell you how to shoot, but if you don't want to learn how to shoot, if you don't want to be a hustler, if you don't want to go that extra mile, then it's no longer going to be a skill. It's something that you turn on and turn off, and sometimes you cannot necessarily control it. So hustling to me is something that is an endearment because it actually equates the mental capacity with the physical capacity, and it's quote unquote control too. It's control. If Rodman comes to mind,
right,
he was this control chaos that everybody revered, but they revered it because he went all out, and that was his behavior, and that was his belief. Other people didn't have it. That's why his was so prominent when other people see it, because it's not common. And that common means, it not being common means that it's not a skill that everybody has, in my opinion.
Or a gift.
We can call it a gift.
So question is then, I guess before we begin to conclude, is how can we then be able to develop the youth and create a culture and an environment for them where we are embracing the hustler and we're setting examples for them, and because for now you got a lot of, in the black community, you got a lot of young people that they feel like their only option to hustle is to maybe sell drugs or to do something
sports
that's not in the benefit of the entire community, and many of them, they don't even value doing something for the community.
I think it's more of transferring the thought process from other things that society has given you, said drugs, cocaine, with any of that kind of stuff. That was by design. They put that in the community to have individuals think that this is the only way in which you can make money. And if you think that's the only way, and you believe that that's the only way, then that's what you're going to actually keep in your mind, on the forefront of your thoughts. You're going to continue to go at it. You're going to find different ways. But the issue is that we don't necessarily replace those kinds of thought process or belief systems with other alternatives than that of drugs. They don't have examples.
So you said earlier, repetition
is the best teacher.
Is the best teacher. So you got to go to what the youth are listening to and what they're watching.
Good job.
So you can't say, okay, well, the hip hop or this music or the television or the video games isn't an influence on them, and then say, well, if they were raised right, okay, your mother tell you one or two things in the morning, and then the rest of the day you listening and watching all this garbage. So what's the repetitive force right here? So if I got a certain type of music in my headphones all day long, and my mother only saying, or my father saying good morning and good evening, good night, so we need to change what they're watching, what they're hearing, what's going on. We can't say reading because I don't know a lot of youth that read nowadays, but what are they looking at on social media platforms? So it's the whole dynamic.
And I would like to speak on the question that you posed was, are immigrants better at business than Americans? And
go ahead.
Go ahead.
No,
Go ahead.
I say yes overall. Well, hold on. Black Americans or just Americans? Or
We just talking just Americans in general.
Yeah, because when they come over here, if they're an immigrant, what's their only alternative if they don't make it over here?
Well, I think it's back to
back.
the culture of how they are brought up. That's
Right.
one thing, and the culture generally is brought up with less obstructions inside of their day-to-day activity, meaning like their family members, how they interact with each other. When they leave out of there, what community did they live in? How do they interact with each other?
You mean as from when they over here in America?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, where they come from,
Where they
because
come from.
immigrants come from someplace and
Right.
they have a culture, and then when they come here, they don't have to, but they sometimes evolve to how they can blend their culture, which they take very seriously, and then the U.S., the Western civilization culture. And what I'm getting at is that if you have some kind of background on what culture is based off of where you come from, at least you have a reference point. And when you come over here, you kind of just take in the other cultures as, okay, I like that or I don't like that, but at least I know I have a reference point. If we as melanated people do not have a reference point, then it's harder for us to take culture serious, is because we don't have a history of understanding what works and what doesn't work. And that comes with the camaraderie of being together, how we interact with each other, what's the advantages of having safety in numbers. Those are all cultural things that the other cultures haven't. At some point in time, I would say this, and I'll be done. At some point in time, damn near every ethnic background has been in some kind of slavery. That's what they've said. And when you do your research in some shape, form, or fashion, it has been that. The issue is that after you get into that kind of challenge, how long ago was it? How intricacy was the actual slavery part? Was it just physical? Was it mental? Was it both? Was it a little bit? How long was it? And then, had you had any other concept of what the culture is prior to somebody coming in and sharing what their culture is? And I'm telling you that immigrants has less things that has kept them from losing who they are, whereas we don't necessarily have that, which means that we have to take on other people's culture. And as you know, anytime you take on other people's culture, you may or may not know all the ins and outs. So are immigrants better? No, I don't think they're better. I just think that they have less outside forces that kept them from making it. And then they also had an in-house culture of support that helped them, which we may or may not have.
So you saying if it's a level playing field, then no. But you're saying
right.
If okay. But based on the obstructions that we have, it could appear that we are less of a hustler overall, or business minded or whatever. I got you.
But it's quite the difference, because we have been put down so much, but we still are revered by everybody.
Right.
So doesn't that constitute a certain amount of ingenious hustle? Because you got individuals keeping you down, but you're still having the ability to change other people's culture, even though you don't have the same advantages, the same background, the same resources. So I'm not saying that they're better or worse. I'm just saying that better sometimes is relative, and we have to find out what is really the true ingredient for changing people's behaviors and beliefs. And I think we have a good handle on that. We just don't.
That's a good perspective, because if we dump, all the obstacles we go through on other so-called cultures, would they even exist?
They've made a superior race by default.
Right.
And they don't even know it. It's like the cockroach scenario. They spray, they do the rat scenario. They spray, they do all kinds of things, but these individuals or things still survive, which means that the next time you come to them, then they're not going to react the same. They're not going to actually be have the same immune system to that. It's going to be stronger. So the same analogy goes with when Trump was elected, and they was talking about how the white folks was going to be, they never been in this situation where they have to survive. They have always been kind of spoon-fed or had the golden spoon in the mouth, and now that they have to come with a different way of looking at something, because this is a one of their own. It's not a black man, so you can't call that bluff. Now they're like, this is one of our own, and we have to actually deal with this dude. And how do we approach it when we never had to approach it like that before?
I think then one of the biggest issues is the entitlement and having people take care of you to a certain extent. Like living a privileged life, it can be a very negative thing. And what I mean is like you said, when you're talking about the average white American that's going crazy because they kind of, some of them are low-key happy that Trump's in office, right? Because he can express their views. But then to a certain extent, they know that they could be under attack just like any other group, right? And if you really look at America, though, America, we haven't been producing much. It's like America has been stealing everything and taking advantage and almost raping countries everywhere for the past 50 years. I mean, during the 50s, we were producing. I mean, America was manufacturing. They had car dealerships. So ever since,
which was the killer of entrepreneurship.
It was a great time. And so now, even when you had these past 50 years, when it's like we're living almost this sweet life of, okay, we're just going to take from other sources. We're not going to manufacture and create on our own. It create a certain level of laziness to it and entitlement. And now it's like, if I'm going to get something, I'm going to get it by taking advantage from somebody. It's like that now that has become the new addiction.
Culture.
It's being that culture vulture. Let me take from other people, and this is what I'm going to keep doing. But eventually that runs out. And even with black Americans, I mean, most of us have.
I think
what's the great melting pot? You grew up with that term.
And I think it's all cultures, because if it wasn't, then this 2 to 3% of people who control most of the money wouldn't be.
If you want to stop, if you want, what did he say? You want to build a wall, quote unquote. So if you want to stop them from coming in, you blocking out culture. Mm-hmm. You don't want to let any of the, the Africans or the black people from the islands in, from Haiti and whatever.
Yeah.
You're making it difficult for African immigrants to get over here. So if you're closing off the borders, you're closing off the culture. So eventually the country will die. So really America needs us. If this is the great melting pot or whatever, but I just think they confused on exactly. It's like they want us, they need us, but they don't want us, but they can't survive on their own.
They don't understand us, dude.
They don't understand.
I think that's what the issue is.
And they're afraid. Like it's almost like if you're a ringmaster in a circus and you got this lion, you tame the lion, so you're not really afraid of the lion, but you know that the lion is still a lion. So you got to keep your neck on it and always check that lion. You got a certain amount of respect for him. But this lion is what makes your show exciting. You take away the lion, you don't have the same, you can't be able to survive. It's almost like a parasite living on his host. But you need for the host to continue to eat sugar and that negative stuff, and so that you can leech off of that. Control. And as soon as that person dies, now you dead, to a certain extent.
It's
And so, and that's based on.
So you saying they a parasite living off? So who's the host?
Well, I'm not. I wouldn't go as far as just saying they are a parasite, but I do think that's a good example.
That's.
Who's the parasite and who's the host?
Well, I put it to you like this. Typically, how a parasite works is a parasite is the one that's doing less work, right? The host is the one that's
brother. Let's break down
eating the food.
The prefix
and the
para. What does para mean, brother? Parasite. But go ahead.
Hey, we should look at the etymology of that word.
Para means what? Dual or parasite? Oh, we gotta look that up. But go ahead, brother.
But no, I mean typically the parasite is the one that's the needy one, right? The parasite, comes after. So if we look at history,
the parasite is the vulture.
Look at this. In history shows that African or melanoid people have been here on Earth for millions of years.
I didn't read that in no history book. Where you get that from?
If we look at agriculture and you look at some of the bones and things that they found from Africa, Ethiopia, right? And other cultures, their histories are probably 5,000-6,000 years old. So typically, it's the parasite is the one that exists that comes afterwards, right? They come after, and then there's the ones that's kind of more dependent.
So, brother, you saying you the host of the planet Earth? That's what you're saying.
I mean, yeah, we know this, but science even shows that, though.
Science even shows.
Yeah, science breaks down the power of the melanin genes, which is why they always studying black DNA. Well, also even if you look at, even the dominant traits of black DNA when they have children with people that have a recessive trait. On how the black people come look out. You get a black person, white person have a baby, it's gonna look gonna have more melanoid features, and it'll eliminate that recessive trait, of those white folks. So I mean, even science shows the power of which is more dominant. And I don't, you know what I mean? Like if you get a parasite and a what would we say?
Well, it's actually across all fields of study. That means that if you put 1 part black and 2 part whites, then it's still gonna be more with the black. Excuse me. That means everything.
Even with the color spectrum, when you blend a dark and a light color, it's gonna come out with a darker color.
It's like a ratio that's kind of biased. Mm-hmm. Like if you put 2 white pieces and 1 black piece in anywhere, which one is gonna stand out? The white or the black? Even though it's 2 whites, the black is gonna catch your eye faster than the white does. It's even if you have more white, the blacks are going to catch your eye. This is just on across the board. It's not necessarily. It's physical, mental, it's chemistry, it's math, it's all those different things. And so the dominant and recessive concept is across all universal laws, is what I guess what I'm getting at.
Well, I think one of the key things, and since we're talking about hustling, every great hustler has one thing in common, that is they're hungry. They have a lot of hunger. And I say that because if we're talking about a host versus a parasite, who's usually the hungriest one? And usually the parasite is the one that's more hungrier and that's controlling that host in terms of even what they're eating and their level of hunger, right? If you got worms in your stomach, that will affect your level of hunger, right? And what you eat and what you don't eat.
And one is never satisfied.
And one is never satisfied.
And they always got to find something else to make them whole or to make them survive.
They have to, or exactly, they have to. They have to survive. So
that's interesting because earlier before the show started, we were talking about a certain YouTube show or popular podcast, and it's like 99% of the guests are African Americans, are black men, but that person is of another ethnicity. So I guess that person would be the parasite or the culture vulture. And the host are the brothers,
right?
That's coming on the show,
yeah.
And they're like living. Because I never thought about that. Yeah, that's interesting.
And that goes back to if black folks want to step up their hustle, you have to become more hungry, which is denying people feeding you. When I was living with my mother and I was 22. She kicked me. My hustle was like, it was okay. But when she kicked me out of the house and I had nowhere to live, nowhere to, no consistent roof over my head, my hustle went through the roof. I didn't know how I was going to make it back, but I never went back home since I left my mother's house because I made a decision that I'm going to eat on my own, and I'm not even going to accept that. So it kept me hungry. So I think that's really important that black people have to kind of sever certain relationships and say, hey, we're not going to accept money from you. Imagine if we said that, if we stop accepting money and contributions from certain people and said we're going to exclusively get them from us.
I think what happens is that, and I'm speaking frankly for myself.
Mm-hmm.
I've been self-employed for some time now, and just based off your example,
Mm-hmm.
it is when I found out that I can be self-sufficient and self-efficient, then blame game started to melt away. That's one thing. Second thing is that I had a certain amount of independence that was not somebody else telling me, is what I knew for myself.
Mm-hmm.
The third thing is that after I found out that I mattered and that I had an actual gift or talent that came with being a hustler because I had to do it as opposed to somebody telling me to do it or somebody giving me something to do.
Mm-hmm.
It took a certain amount of discipline that came with that. And under that discipline, the experience taught me that I can hustle myself and I also can see other hustlers.
Mm-hmm.
So I can be able to identify other hustlers, which means that when you can identify, then that may mean that your way of doing business could be a lot better than that of a person who doesn't know how to spot a hustler. Because a hustler is not negative. A hustler is somebody that you know that's self-sufficient and self-sufficient in their own manner, and you can pick that out. And once you pick it out, you, as a hustler, understand that a hustler is always better if you have two hustlers as opposed to one. Especially in basketball, if you got two hustlers coming after one on the defense, it's more chances of them actually irritating somebody than just one hustler. So that leads me to understand that if I understand hustling and I also do the hustling, I can identify another hustler, and also with the advantage of knowing the managerial part of hustling. Meaning, like, if I understand how hustling works, I can pick other people who can hustle, who does something better than I can in that hustling capacity, which means that the managerial side, which is some of the challenges that we as melanin people have, is understanding that we need other people, but how do we identify those people to come in to help us in the same or similar hustling manner, which means that we ultimately can do more things for the greater good of all.
Do you think that's more difficult because a lot of us don't think, like you just said, on the same wavelength? So for you to go find someone that looks like you, that's on the same page as you, it's to me it's few and far in between. So
True.
With other cultures, if I'm a Arabic cat in the neighborhood that has a store, I can look up the block and see another Arab that has a store or around the corner. But if you're a brother in business, I mean, you have to look across town or over here 10 blocks away. I mean, to provide the service.
But you know what? That's true to a certain extent, right? Hustlers are few and far between.
Outside
good ones.
To the gas station.
But with the internet,
to the corner store. It's not that complicated.
But the internet has made the world so much smaller, right? Mm-hmm. And so what I would say is now it's about knowing how to filter people quicker as well, how to sort through people.
You're gonna have to sort through a lot of yourself.
But for
get to someone like yourself.
But it's not.
With other cultures,
but
it's
you
not
know
that
what?
hard.
It's not as
that difficult.
I'm not saying it's easy, but I feel like when you create a reputation for being a thorough hustler, right? Let's say, for example, Tariq Nasheed. One of the things he does that I really respect is whatever he say he's gonna do, he do it tangibly. It gets done. He's not just talking and don't get it done. And so now he created that reputation. So now certain people know they have to raise a certain standard if they really going to work with him.
We all do.
Right? So it makes me think about, too, I remember I had an internship. This would be the last example I'll give. It was an internship I really wanted. The dude had me wait. I went for an interview. He made me wait in the lobby for almost 2 hours before he saw me.
Go ahead.
Most people would have left. I would have left. I wanted to leave, but I was that hungry. I knew how this could change my life, because this was a major studio. I'm talking about, it was a major change, and I knew I couldn't continue to do what I was doing. And so when he knew, he had at least an idea of the sacrifice that I was willing to make, because that's how you know a lot about the people that you're working with. It's the sacrifices that they make, not just what they say when you see them make certain sacrifices.
Yeah, and it's very important we we don't get a hustler mixed up with a schemer or a scammer.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
So if you're dealing with a hustler, you check their background record, or their history is consistency. A scammer, you start asking questions about them. There's a lot of holes in the story. That person say, oh man, don't mess with him. He did that to me, or she did that to me, or she doesn't do good business. But, so if you're hustling properly, you have a history, a track record. That's very important too,
Absolutely.
Consistency is key, as they say, so and reputation, your reputation precedes itself.
So I just want to, again, as we're concluding the show, just want to let people know we got the documentary. It's going to be crazy. The documentary, Nation of Hustlers. Right now we have a Kickstarter that's up, so we're definitely looking for contributors to help us fund this. It's going to be off the chain. We're going to go into deep. We want to have some of the best of the best people that we're interviewing and guests, so that we can bring the best value to you. We're going to be comparing cultures of hustlers. We're going to be going into different ethnic groups, backgrounds, from Mexican hustles, Asian hustles, hustle code. We're going to break down the code of conduct with hustlers. It's going to be, you ain't seen nothing else like this. And this is what the game has been missing right now. You don't see many people that's really talking about those habits, the everyday habits, and that discipline, those rituals that it take, and that code of conduct of working with people. So we're going to go deep into that with this documentary. So look us up on Kickstarter, Nation of Hustlers. Support that documentary. We really appreciate it. Any other announcements, anything y'all got going on?
Make sure you go to the Fresh Air Network Facebook page, like that page, and also the YouTube channel, Fresh Air Network, air with an E. Also, this Saturday, what's this, December 17th? Check out the 300 group at Some Like It Black-owned spot, nice little spot on 43rd in Cottage Grove. We're doing brunch there from 10 to 5 p.m. Some Like It Black this Saturday, December 17th. And also New Year's Eve at the Harold Washington Cultural Center. Check them out, too.
I would like to just say once again that the year is ending, and it is good that you are preparing yourself to do some things that are different for the next year. Also, be open to doing it with other people as opposed to just yourself. I know we do have certain challenges with working with each other because we're out of practice, but in order to become better at it, then we must practice. So I just wanted to let everybody know, any and everybody that made any kind of contribution, physically, mentally, for Fresh Air Network and our platform, that I appreciate it. And I'm grateful for 2017 because we do have good things, good concepts, good, and we got some great people in Chicago. We got some great people in the world. And I want to make sure that we showcase that talent. So thank you guys, of course, for being consistent. And yeah, you guys got anything that you want to share as far as what you're doing this weekend or next weekend?
Just want to shout out my boy Kurt Cohiba, up and coming rap artist, musical artist. Man, everything he does is awesome. He performs with his live band. He's going to be at the Cubby, which is on the north side. That's this Saturday night at the Cubby. I think it's Park area. But definitely come out if y'all want to look him up on Facebook, Kurt Cohiba, or go to Dwayne Jackson on Facebook. Do looking up, you'll see details on that. But come out, it's great. I mean, the boy is cold. The boy is cold, and not just as a rapper, but he really gets into his whole band. They all are professionals. Like, he's got a doctor in there. We had Dr. Charm. She's going to be singing. But that's the event you want to go out and just have a good time.
All right.
if you see this, you watching live, check out my buddy Derek Jones. He's over at the Falcon Inn right now. December what's his day? Wednesday, 7:00. Comedian Derek Jones, check him out. Real funny brother. Derek Anuna, what's up?
Cool. And next week, same place, same time, Wednesday, every Wednesday. Make sure you check in the Fresh Air Network, that Facebook page. Subscribe, follow that page. Also, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube page as well, Fresh Air Network. Next week, we're debating. Are we going to do a 6 o'clock start time, or are we going to be consistently going for 7 o'clock?
Let's do 6:30 or 7. What you think? What do you think?
What you think, Kavan?
He
always say we could do whatever as long as we
let's
on
do
time.
7.
That's what's
let's
most
do
important.
7. Tune in at 7. We'll be at 6:30. Is that good for you?
It's great for me.
Okay.
We just gotta be consistent with showing.
I will
time.
be
And
more consistent
once we
at
get to
7
talking,
and 6.
fellas,
Right.
we definitely always go over,
Yeah.
and that's the thing is that it's 7:53 now.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So let's just keep that in mind, and also just making sure that we are considerate about our listeners too,
Okay.
and what they have going on in their time. So yeah, appreciate
So
you guys.
7 o'clock, 7 o'clock Central Time next Wednesday. Check in 7 o'clock Central Time. We'll see y'all then.
Peace.